Hi, my name is vanbuskirk, and I did my preceptorship at Kaiser Permanente. So day one, I meet my supervisor, expecting her to assign me to a doctor that I'll follow through the rest of the day. But then she says, "Hey Brooke, the doctors have a policy meeting this morning that you'll sit in on." My initial thought is, meeting? Huh? You mean I'm not actually going to start by watching some injured patients? And I wasn't expecting this, to be honest, but I just rolled with it. Turns out, throughout the past 3 weeks, I've sat in on more than one board meeting. And to be honest, I've learned more from these meetings than I ever expected I would. Just observing how real-world adults work together behind the scenes in the business side of medicine really highlighted an important part of this profession to me. Since the reality of being a doctor differed from my initial expectations, I wanted to share with you the assumptions I had coming in that were broken by the reality of doctor life. Number one, my expectation. Out of medical school, you're going to be an all-powerful doctor. I mean, you didn't just study 10 years for nothing, right? The reality is you have to answer to a lot more individuals that are above you. So how I drew this conclusion was that hospitals, just like Kaiser, are just like businesses. And there's a natural hierarchy that you aren't immediately the top dog straight out of medical school. To explain this phenomenon further, I like to draw an analogy to a restaurant chain. At the top of the pyramid, you have the chain corporation owner. Below them, you have the site owners, the managers, the waiters, and then followed by everybody else. You, just like everyone else, have to start at the bottom. Even if you move up the pyramid, you still have to answer to all the individuals above you. So why am I explaining a restaurant hierarchy to you? Because doctors are the waiters and waitresses of the world. What happens to doctors is that they aren't aware of this pyramid. In these policy meetings, it truly became clear to me that doctors don't actually have all the power that I thought they did. For example, doctors might propose problems they face in practice to their administrators. They submit requests to the administration, but the administration has all the right in the world to deny these requests, which I saw they have no problem doing. This administration even has more power because it designs doctors' days. You might think that a doctor can choose to spend more time with a certain patient who really needs more attention, but this isn't the reality. If the corporation says you're going to see 20 patients today, 20 minutes each, you have no choice but to comply. To redraw my point, my expectation was that doctors rule the medical field, but the reality is that they are only a pawn in the game. Let's move on to expectation number 2. A child who might want to be a physician when they grow up might mentally picture a doctor rushing to save a bleeding patient, mending his wounds, saving the day, and then rushing on to the next patient. The reality is that doctors actually have this task during patients called charting. This pretty much just means doctors tediously putting information into the computer about the patient that they just saw. Doctors are required to document anything notable that happened during that patient's visit. This child might not have pictured in their mind a heroic doctor doing basic computer work. And really, a good portion of a physician's time is spent using the technology. Through this program, I have come to realize that charting patients, taking notes on their conditions, writing prescriptions, making calls, etc., consumes more of a physician's day than I had expected. Doctors review patients' charts as a refresher before seeing them, and then again after seeing them. However, I want to be clear that I am not opposed to the use of this technology. To be honest, this boring computer work, filling in patients' charts, seems to make doctors' lives so much easier. Right in front of them, they have all the information they need to know about a patient's history. If you're planning on becoming a doctor, it is overall good to be aware that you have to embrace this use of technology and be willing to do some tedious computer work. It is an overlooked yet fairly large piece of doctor's job description that I found very eye-opening. Finally, expectation versus reality number 3. Although doctors seem to be saints, below their smiling exterior, some patients can actually frustrate them. The reason is that people picture medicine as a type of magic. However, I discovered that medical treatments don't work unless patients do. This might seem obvious, but it's truly a problem I encountered while observing. You would be surprised to find that the common belief among patients is that doctors will prescribe them medicine and then all of a sudden they should be healed. This is true to a certain extent, but there's so many factors that go into the healing process than just popping a pill. Patients actually have to follow through with their prescribed remedies if they want to see a successful treatment. One field of medicine that I found to be the most frustrating was in physical therapy. Some patients don't follow their exercise plans, and then they come to their next appointment with little progress and then they're upset. This is one thing to consider before jumping in to be a doctor. You might have to deal with a little frustration at times. Medicine is not magic, and it doesn't work unless your patient does. So, I hope you enjoyed my 3 realizations I made while exploring this field. It's important that you know I don't see any of these discoveries as necessarily bad things, but just as hidden truths. Even with all this insight I gained, I'm still in love with medicine and plan on becoming a doctor myself. Although I had time to only share 3 aspects of medicine I discovered, I hope to provide insight to anyone who wants to be a doctor when they grow up. Thank you.